The work has been going on all off season, but the official quest for a three-peat and a title defense, that starts now. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, I want to take a moment to share some news with everybody. Thanks to a phenomenal month of October with guests like Emily Adams, Dan Meehan, a bunch of interviews with Eric Ryba, and a few others. It's been a huge month for Locked On UConn. So our community is growing exceptionally fast, and it's all thanks to listeners like you. Special shout out to my everydayers for making that possible. And finally, we're adding a little bit of charitable action to our donations to Bleeding Blue for Good, with 10% of our revenue going there. But also, on top of that, we're giving 10% to Husky Ticket Project. That means every follow, download, and subscription helps support UConn athletics and helps send underserved kids to experience the excitement of UConn basketball and football this season. So if you're enjoying the content, please take a second to subscribe and follow wherever you listen to the audio. Together, we're building something super special, and we're helping make a real difference in the community. So for Husky fans, really appreciate you anywhere you are. Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, it's a new season, but a historic quest is in the mix. It's UConn's drive for a three-peat. Welcome back to the official start of college basketball season. We made it. And it's not just any season. We're on the brink of history here. We're going to talk about our Huskies in the start of what could be the most memorable season in UConn's storied history. Think about what I just said. We're coming off a back-to-back season, a year in which UConn was 37-3, was the most efficient offensive team in basketball over the last almost 30 years. And what had historic records winning the Big East regular season, tournament, number one overall seed, and this season that we're going into could be the most historic of any season in UConn's history. Because the goal is a third straight national championship. It hasn't been done in over 50 years, not since John Wooden's UCLA dynasty in the 60s and 70s. But our coach, Dan Hurley, is the kind of guy who doesn't shy away from history. We talked about this, right? The obstacle is the way. He's learning from it, and he's going head on towards it. Let's take a step back to early October. Midway through a practice, we talked about this. Hurley's watch started buzzing, and it asked him, do you want to call for an emergency? And if you guys don't know, and I'm not wearing my Apple Watch right now, but it has that setting where if you get into a car accident or you have some type of an emergency, that elevates your heart rate, that it essentially can read that you're going through a crisis. It'll ask if you want assistance. So obviously Dan Hurley declined it. But Hurley was going all in on intensity, tearing into his team from every misstep. And he's dropping to the floor, letting out classic come ons, or what the F is wrong with that drill, or, you know, that's weak. That's low level BS. This man does not let up. He's got this switch. The moment practice starts, Hurley flips into a mode of pure intensity that catches every possible angle in every specific moment of a practice, and even attacked his Apple Watch, which apparently is going to need that Hurley setting, which is Dynasty mode. I think the most interesting stuff is listening to some quotes from the guys, like freshman Liam McNeely, one of the newest and most talented 5-stars we've ever had, quotes, he's probably the funniest person I've ever met, but on the court, it's just like a mode flips, and he's just kill everybody, even in practice. This isn't a guy who's mellowed after back-to-back championships. Hurley is as driven as ever. And he's going after that third straight with everything he's got. Guys, wristbands, everything. Shirts that say everything. In Alex Karaban's assessment, he's leveled up. He's hungrier than ever. It's not just about the intensity in the gym. It's different this year, apparently, according to everyone that you talk to. And I can hear it in his voice. I can hear it in the media availability about how he talks about this team. I listened to it when Joe Arruda wrote that piece about how he was at a breakfast and someone asked, "Do you love this team?" And he said, "Not yet." Because there's nothing to love yet. We're in dynasty mode. And I didn't know this, but Hurley's got every player wearing a bracelet that says Dynasty. That's the mindset he's pushing on everyone. Embrace it. He played them a huge video feature highlighting of the Chicago Bulls three-peat before the first practice of the offseason. Do you want to get me fired up as a kid, as a Jordan fan growing up? Show me that video. He wants them to feel it. He wants them to understand that the stakes of the season are ultra high. And for Hurley, this is more than just basketball. It's about cementing UConn's place in history, not as a flash-in-the-pan champion, or as these idiots online say, Linsanity, but as a dynasty that demands greatness season after season. And I hate to break it to college basketball fans, but I don't think Dan Hurley is going anywhere. Not for a long time. You're going to have to deal with him and his complaints and his suspected slights of his players, like Alex Karaban not being on the AP All-American team, or how Solo Ball wasn't on any of the Big East all-conference teams, but you can put freshmen on. How about just absolutely no mention of the fact that every year, whether you're going with metrics like Evan Miyakawa or Ken Palm, every year after they won a title that he's been here, they've had new players. They've had to replace essentially 4, 5, 6 people every single time. Why is it different now? Why are the unknowns not given the benefit of the doubt when we're going into this season? I think that's what you're going to have to deal with every year, because this is not a hot take. Dan Hurley and UConn and his staff, Luke Murray, Kamani Young. By the way, Kamani Young, such an underrated person on this team. How much do you want to play for Kamani Young when you see that CBS March Madness thing where it was behind the scenes on UConn's run to the title, the back-to-back? Just how he talks to the team about defense and getting people's face. Like, I wanted to play defense yesterday when I watched a little bit of that. This staff, Luke, Kamani, Tom, Dan, they've cracked this code, guys. This is not a flash in the pan where it's like, oh, okay, we had a nice run. And I'll use a UConn title that I felt like was unexpected, like the Kemba run. Kemba's run in the final to win a national championship was one of the most unexpected and beautiful things for UConn fans. And it was Jim Calhoun's third title. I love it. But that wasn't the 99 team or the 04 team. That was unexpected. 9 seed in the Big East tournament, 4 seed going into the NCAA tournament with a bullet. And that was a run. These aren't runs, guys. These are sustained levels of excellence. Sure, the first title, you can say they went in and blew everybody away as, I think, a 3 seed, but there might have been some blips on the radar screen that year. But the idea that this is somehow has some kind of timeline on it is silly. From the way they're recruiting to the way Dan is approaching every season like it's his last, essentially. So when we return, we're going to talk about why culture matters for this team and how they haven't always been this behemoth of college basketball on top of the mountain. They've been running it for 30 years, but they haven't been up there for 30 years. And let's talk about that culture shift coming up after this. How hype are you for college basketball season? It's like Christmas come early. Both the UConn men's women's team tip off their season at Gamble this Wednesday and Thursday. We have banner night on Wednesday night for the men. It's going to be spectacular. I don't know about you, but I'm counting down the minutes. And our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to get through those game days, all the pregame festivities, those nail-biting potential moments, although these games we don't have to worry about anything going down to the wire. But that's why they created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. Just for the super fan like you, the ones who are up first in the parking lot, going to pregame festivities. We see you. We love you. This week, my UConn Fan Fuel came from watching Paige Beckers dominate in that exhibition game, making 8 of her first 8 shots, only missing 2 all game. That court energy was electrifying, and it's only the beginning as things get real this week. So whether you're prepping for the big game or ironing that favorite Stephon Castle jersey, let the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot keep you going strong. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. Let's talk about something that I don't think gets enough publicity, because I think UConn fans in general like to look at our teams in a way that is different than most, because I'll take you all the way back to before we really get into this segment. I really want to take you back to when I was a kid. UConn basketball was almost like shot out of a cannon. Husky Mania, all the different things that went into it. The Dream Season Pod does a great job of really kind of chronicling that shift that brought Calhoun here and what he did from building this program from the ground up. The GOAT, the patriarch of this organization, essentially really kind of demanded we be respected. And we went from a team that was just trying to get out of that 8-9 game to a team that was a top contender in the Big East and then also nationally. And it took a while for Calhoun to hit, right? Multiple times in the Elite Eight, multiple times in the Sweet 16, where we had probably far superior teams, and it just didn't work until 99 hit. And then all the trajectory of this basketball program didn't start when we won the national championship in 1999 over Duke. It culminated Calhoun's history and his life's work to be labeled as a coach with a ring, because before then he was the best coach that never made a Final Four, right? And that's an honor. It's kind of like being one of the best golfers to never win a major, or a tennis player. So you don't want to have that distinction for much of your career. Dan doesn't have to worry about that anymore, because he's built off of the foundation that Calhoun brought here, and created this culture with UConn that it demands this respect. And even though we took a dip after the Kevin Ollie years, to kind of, as Dan was getting his players in here and getting everything ramped up, everything doesn't happen overnight. But now that it's here, Hurley has transformed this program from what we used to think about when I was a kid about, man, it'd be really great to win a national championship one day. It'd be really great to be considered as a top program in the country, to that we were clawing for respect, into a powerhouse that demands it. And even annoyingly to some people, that Dan Hurley demands that respect because it comes with this amount of success. And it's been a steady rise. I mean, built on Hurley's no-nonsense culture and off of Calhoun's, very similar in that respect. He's not interested in letting his players act like celebrities, as he says. I believe it was a Jeff Borzillo article where he said, quote, we would be a lot bigger right now if I was allowing players to act like jackasses on TikTok, or to run around and act like celebrities. I'll give you one guess on who he's talking about there. Also, I think he sometimes fixates on these programs that shall remain nameless, because him and his brother have really had to grind in the coaching ranks and kind of get that level to level until they're on higher major programs. And I just wonder if he harbors any ill will about Bobby not being considered for the Duke role. and it just being handed over to Shire. Nevertheless, doesn't mean Shire didn't work hard under Coach K as an assistant, because I know assistant coaches work harder than anybody. They're long hours. They don't get paid as much. If they lose, they may get the ire of their coach, but no one's writing articles about what's wrong with such and such because the assistant scout was wrong or whatever. So the buck stops with the head coach. And I think Hurley kind of realizes that, guys who didn't go through that grind have it a lot easier. They just have. I mean, to be an assistant at a high major, you work a ton of hours, but you get paid handsomely. And on top of it, you kind of have this ready-made program for you to run. And that's not what he went through. And I think he feels like what he went through is the right way. So there's none of this is direct knowledge from him. This is my opinion. I just think there could be something there, but that's just me thinking out loud. Kind of is a tangent, right? Because I really am talking about other things. And regardless, Hurley doesn't want TikTok and celebrity engagements. He wants to control what he's built. And frankly, what he's built this is what UConn basketball is about. It's about focus. It's about hard work. It's about relentlessly pursuing the same goals as a team and not as individuals who have come together. One goal, one team. Nothing speaks to Danny's commitment than some of the options he turned down, right? When all of this happened, Kentucky reportedly offered him a blank check. I heard at one point the APY was $13 million a year. I don't know how many years they were offering him. $1 million more than Bill Self at Kansas to go to Kentucky, and more than what he would have made at the Lakers. Imagine that. Turning down arguably one of the best programs in the country that could pay you more. You're going to go into a better conference. No disrespect to the Big East. I'm talking about from a metrics perspective. You get the SEC money, and that's what I'm talking about. You get to a school where, yeah, there's a lot of pressure, as there is at UConn, but there's also a lot of money and a lot of prestige. Also, he turned down the Lakers. That decision told the players everything they needed to know. Quote, he turned down the Lakers. He turned down coaching LeBron James, Hassan Diarra said. It was an eye-opening moment, like, whoa, we have something really good here, unquote. Hurley's loyalty and vision are clear. He's in this for the long haul, and that commitment is what makes this team special. And he sees something in this program that he believes in deeply, and that we all believe in deeply. And I think that's why we connect with him. Because could you imagine any other coach at this point in their career winning back-to-back and turning down the Lakers? I can think of another one, Coach K. So sometimes where you are is better than where you can go. Liam McNeely, one of our newest Huskies, can't wait to watch him play. I hope his calf is healed. Committed because he wanted to be a part of the culture that was all about winning championships. Quote, UConn has won back-to-back national championships, and it's anything short of a national championship, it's a failure, McNeely said. That's just the culture I want to be around. He's here for a dynasty, not just a season. And that's the difference. Every other player knows the stakes. Alex Karaban is ready to lead, saying, quote, I feel the pressure of being the next great UConn player. It's something I think about every day. The standard has been set, and it's clear. If you're not here to compete for championships, this place isn't for you. Nothing could be more true than what Alex just said. And these are the moments right here. This is what you're playing for at UConn. The confetti to fall down. Everyone's excited. You got Ernie Johnson, from TNT, about to interview you. And you get the hug. You get hugs from Dan, like this one with Steph Castle. If you're listening to this on audio, I'm showing some pictures of the national championship celebration. And that's what these kids want to be a part of. You got Alex Karaban just looking at that beautiful stroke, shooting that three against Alabama in the Final Four. This is what this program is about. And Alex and Haas are here to lead it for the next season, as well as our guy Samson, who I think is going to make a big leap. And if you don't know him, you don't know ball. And that's Solo right there. I think Solo, again, is going to make a huge leap when we return. Let's coming up and talking about betting on the development of this team. And this is exactly what we've talked about in the offseason, but we're here refreshing everyone's memory that this team is built on the culture that Dan Hurley has created. And nothing could be better than listening and understanding what Dan Hurley thinks about this team's ability can be. So when we start to worry about things, I need you guys to understand this team is in great hands. If Dan Hurley didn't think that this team could compete, he wouldn't be betting on guys like Solo, guys like Samson, guys like Jaden, Aiden Mahaney, and others. I promise you, this guy has bet on this team, and I believe in Dan Hurley and what he brings to the table. So when we return, let's talk about that. Let's talk about betting on development. Get ready to take on the NFL action with FanDuel's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $100, $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's FanDuel on the sports app. It gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Join FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. UConn final segment. We talked about this, how Dan does not want to look at this tenure of him as a coach as a transactional relationship, that he's betting on development. It's a gamble for long-term growth. So when Hurley looked at his roster this offseason, he had two options: dive into the transfer portal to grab a lineup of proven players, or double down on UConn's young rising stars. Spoiler alert, he did what UConn does best. He bet on growth. Choosing to develop the talent we have, it's a big gamble, but it's what makes this program special. Quote unquote, we're gambling on improvement in a time where a lot of schools and programs are just going for ready-made, unquote. Hurley said, in a year where we've had so much on the line, to put yourself up there with UCLA and John Wooden, what this moment means for us as a program and all of our careers, it's a big gamble. I think it's a gamble they're going to win. And that means we're going to see players like Solo Ball, Jaden Ross, Jalen Stewart stepping into bigger roles this season. These guys didn't see much time last year, but they're ready to show what they've got. Haas, who once Big East Sixth Man of the Year, is stepping in as a starting point guard. I think he's going to make a leap. Samson Johnson stepping in to fill bigger shoes. I think he's going to make a leap, creating offense, initiating actions this season. And I think that it'll test them all. But it's exactly what they need to grow. And Hurley's trust in them says a lot about his belief in the program's developmental system and what these players have given him already and what they're going to give back, the accountability and the ROI. Hurley's approach is about transformation, not transactional. It's about building players up, giving them the tools to succeed long-term. We know all of this stuff. He's taken inspiration from some of the world's best managers in European soccer, all the way to the Turkish leagues in how they deal with their offense. He doesn't want their teams to be transactional. He used the quote in an article, pathological pursuit of excellence. I've used the obstacle is the way. It all means the same thing. It means one targeted goal that we're all after. And that's the mindset of the program that's here to stay at the top. With the season officially here, the road ahead is clear. It's not going to be easy. Every team will be gunning for UConn. There's a huge target on their back. But this team is built for this. They've seen what it takes to reach the mountaintop, and they're ready to defend it. From Karaban stepping up as a leader, to McNeely bringing in fresh energy, Aiden Mahaney, to the returning players who can now carry the weight of the legacy, everyone has their role to play. Questions that have to be answered. Can Aiden Mahaney be what Dan has described as in between Tristan and Cam? Can any of the other freshmen like Ahmad Noel and Isaiah Abraham push vets for minutes and provide a spark? The quest for a three-peat is on. In every game, every practice, every drill is a step toward that goal. For Hurley, the past two championships don't mean anything right now. Quote, you don't get anything in sports for what happened last April, unquote. He said that, and that's the mindset he's instilled in this team. Hungry, driven, They're ready to take on whatever challenges come their way. Hurley's commitment to the players, the dedication that he brings, and this program's culture of excellence all point to one thing. This is just the beginning of something potentially historic. As Karaban put it, to have my name within the legacy of possibly winning 3, it's hard to imagine. It's not just about one season. It's about creating something that will be remembered, something that will be set, that will set the standard for future generations. And if they pull this off, guys, UConn won't just be another great program. They will be the program, a legendary program, a dynasty that others will chase for years to come. The Huskies are ready, and I can't wait to see them hit the court. This isn't just another season, guys. It's a shot at immortality. So buckle up, Husky fans, because we're in for one incredible ride. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm Mark Zanetto. Make sure your toughness meter is at an all-time high. As we embark on this season, the target has grown, but so has our resolve. As always, go Huskies.